Alrighty, I'm a little bit tired, but it's time to try to get back and polish off the rest of these lovely map core maps, or at least start doing so by talking about Bridge. Uh, a map that the first time I saw it, my first impressions are, holy cow, this is small, and every single round is going to be about 30 seconds. Of course, that's a little bit hyperbole, and there is a little bit of truth to that. But this has quickly grown to be an absolute favorite, despite how brutal and painful the T side can often be. And I think there can be some very small changes to alleviate that pain while still keeping the heart of the map the same, because the balance, the retakes, how everything flows, even if the true like CTT side balance isn't perfect, how every round plays out and the feeling of everything feels lovely, and trying to do some major change to balance that out could completely eradicate everything. But rather than talking you through it, let's show you and discuss. First, we do have a lovely T-spawn intersection that, as we can see very quickly, already goes to mid just after a second or two. There isn't really much thinking about it. Everyone can swing out and brawl immediately here on mid, but we'll get to that in a little bit. The thing we're going to talk about is our B approach. Lovely courtyard, nice options, a little bit of boxes for angles, being able to peek down and tease a little bit towards long if you want to catch someone trying to push or punish. Way to quickly rotate to the other lower half of mid, which is another fun part we'll get through later. Tons of nice places for nades. I think this has been a favorite spot for me as of the moment. Nades like shown, mostly, except there's one I seem to have not correctly remembered. Has me a little bit concerned, unless this was the micro detail that I was forgetting. Apologies. Aha, there it is. And let's go back to that other corner and make sure to throw the other one at the same time, so we can have both to reference. A very unique beast bomb site design, as we're going to see here, but nice genuine ways to smoke it off and help isolate the duels. But we start off with the classic downstairs ramp approach, which, even though technically has some stairs, is mostly smooth in elevation. And this is one of the maps that has really benefited from the movement and animation changes, helping smooth this out. I don't have an easy way to reference at the moment, but normally the player would bump a little bit visually here, and now instead it is smooth completely for both third person and first person. Talk about the first lovely thing, this little divider wall, just cutting off a little bit of the vision, giving a bit of cover if a CT decides to try to play aggressive, and make sure that this cubby works through both sides of the attack, which is attack and defense, which is absolutely lovely, because this ends up being a key critical position to allow for that B approach, because this is so oppressive like a banana. This essentially ends up being your logs, or more realistically, more like the half wall next to car. You're able to hide and get some cover, and then approach through and run through your site take, which, as you can see, a lot of positions to worry about. There's a little small one here or there, like this, that I'm not sure I'm that content with, because there is so many frustrating angles to deal with that it might be a little bit overkill, but there's genuinely so many ways to play this. My favorite being just to set up a pop flash on the tree, throws right up top, throws high, No one expects it running through. Leaves them completely blind. And of course you have everything like your classic smoke, throwing your mollies. Everything to try to really suppress control from the area. And this little bit, it's always these small things. It's not just a wall here. It just goes out. It gives this a little bit of extra space to move around. And that's one of these little details I appreciate about this map. And you'll notice me talking about a lot is that there's always all these little small spots. Whether it's a weird thing like trying to get an elevated off angle. Whether for planting or just throwing util or just hiding. There's always somewhere that can be played just to give that slight little bit of different elevation, bit of off angle, everything just a little bit weird. Got the little stairs here. Just every single little bit up to this patio just has this little bit of a detail that can be played around. This head glitch is still a little bit strong and annoying, but I don't really want it changed either. One interesting thing, the fact that it has the barrel with the panel here actually helps nerf it a bit, that you can't fully swing across. And of course, it being this corner here, it's so vulnerable to a heavy nade stack and a rush. One thing I noticed is being able to set up to get the lineup here. To be able to pop, flash, and swing through. T's can get to about here, which is pretty deep. So you sometimes have to preemptively molly just in case it is a rush. Before you can flash and try to catch people flashbang dancing and spray them down. And appreciate how this is blocked off mostly. A little bit of jank here, and even a little bit of spam position here to deal with a bomb planter potentially. So it's not entirely safe if there is someone playing on the site. We got a bit of a dark or alert cubby. Not entirely sure what to call this. Could use a little bit of decoration work. It's a little bit rough, especially with like this little bit here. But the entire idea of this little position and just having this little place to hide or just hold angles for both attacking and defending is just genuinely lovely. The bit of elevation is great, and I understand why this is blocked off. And I think that should stay that way. I almost wonder if these sandbags are a bit excessive and unnecessary as of right now. As they don't serve much purpose other than mainly boosting someone up here when there's so many angles to deal with. Maybe this is something that should be considered and looked at. And would also make this a far less common position and the off angle genuinely a lot more valuable to try to hold for those pickoffs. Although if you go this wide, I'm definitely confident that the player's head right here would show. And someone over here would be able to see that little dot and plop it. So the player model is at head level, and if you're looking down just right like this, it's going to give that little hint necessary. But genuinely, the site that I think gets hit just a little bit more often. It's a little bit easier to coordinate to, especially during the late to mid rounds. If Ts are able to get around this mid control or various lower areas, which again we'll get to. Always see creep ups that end up going here and after plants. Loving this as a tuck spot. Another box I'm not... Like this one, there's a lot of debate for. This one just feels like just a waste of space, just an inclusion, and just gets in the way. I get the idea maybe wanting something here to decorate, but I don't think this box is it and should be completely tossed. Lovely waterfall, by the way. But most of this, especially because as it wraps to CT, appreciate the E-box to be able to allow to boost here. allowing for a bit of an off angle here, and as I showed earlier, a way to have a nice waterfall smoke to block off this location. So highlight again that I think I might want this wall brought in like 2 to 3 units, something very tight, just so this smoke gap fully covers it. Just push it that little bit. It's a lot more than 2 units, but about to here, almost flush with that arch, in all honesty, just so the smoke can fully bloom and fill in this area. Working for the retake. You can see we even have very subtle small angles here like this, where headshots can be carefully played. Everything about this site just has these small little details, all these little elevations, and little nicks and knacks that can be used for both teams in so many little creative ways. It's a lovely center pillar to be able to play around, of course, with this backside corner that is called plat. But there's just so many ways to describe it, so many ways to play around it. Maybe that's the small issue I'd like to see. Just get these sandbags rotated a little bit more tucked against the wall, so I don't have as much of this like headshot gap in space, so I have to actually back up further or commit all the way to the side here. Having this tiny little gap able to just really min-max the headspace area, allowing myself to tuck in even deeper, could be a minor annoyance once in a blue moon. As I mentioned, this double route to allow for the retake. Make sure that you can't get, you get this deep smoke, say, towards CT here. You still have this retake path. The site's still open. You can only smoke off this site itself, not where you play to try to retake it, which I find genuinely lovely. Part of the reason I do also want the smoke here to be so much more effective, considering this space is always reobtained by CTs. And most realistically, the best thing you can do is maybe try to play cheeky here, T on an eco, and get a singular pick. But as this connects to CT, it's always going to be under defense's control, realistically, and attacking terrorists are going to have to be focusing on using these different little cubbies and different positions to their advantage to try to get that little bit of extra cover and create the space to make the retakes as difficult as possible. Go here, we'll go to the one place that I think I want fully blocked off and removed, which would be this back stair to nest to mid, as this area is a little bit too overwhelming to attack, because if we go back over here to the T side, there is a few possible options on the table to help out that work very nicely that I can do, like this and this. And you can see this perfectly smokes off this entire room interior here, which we teased a moment ago, that connects to these stairs to the B site, which allows for this very fast, snappy rotation from mid, as well as with this position being here, of course, with the B site being literally right across it. Very easy to get info of a B rush coming early to be able to call to a teammate, to call those mollies, encouraging communication, teamwork, team play, utility usage, everything, the whole shebang, all at once. Making sure for my own sanity. And maybe a few tweaks needed, but in theory, some fun stuff that can be done with pop flashes through this little window that's open here too, which is beautiful. But anyways, to mid, if we keep in mind the mental note of how I smoked off this connection to mid that the CTs use to get there even faster than the Ts do. You'll end up spawning potentially right about here, I believe. And you just take the run, and you can see it's about 3 to 4 seconds, and boom, you have full mid control. You can get all the way to the cross safely, no issue, which I think is great. And lovely with how it should be. But again, you smoke this off, you smoke this off, which has a lot of uses. But you still have this third position to deal with that requires even more utility. So if you want to attempt to even start a mid take, it's going to cost you a molly and 2 smokes just to start, and that's just to be able to contest and see this alley. And right now, with the current design, there isn't any area to play around. There isn't any boxes top mid exactly. You're deciding your timing, trying to position on the angle. And you can creep up here. You can get sort of a half creep going on here. Not entirely the greatest. And maybe a touch on the little sandbags group here. Really gives more emotional support than anything. And speaking of tweaks and adjustments that I would want for this area, it would be, I just want this nest gone. I think it just gives too much to CTs, just creates too many problems, doesn't allow for the Ts to be able to start trying to isolate these areas and causing control, especially when the other areas talked about is this tight banana choke point. And effectively the same sort of tight elbow here towards A. It's a little bit wider out, but there's so many angles and everything to clear with. And even if you try to rush in this area, single molly is all you need to cut it off, and very easy to have everyone look down and mow down from this high heaven. So you already have a heaven cutting off this very unique section of the map of having this second mid that's essentially this underpass, winery, all these little things. But then you have a second heaven on top of it for the other side of mid. And it's just a little too much double dipping. There's also these little corners, everything like this. I've seen players hide here on pushes and being able to catch picks. And sometimes, as long as you have teammates holding, you can get the second mid hole smoked off. And you can even hold this and catch them trying to rotate to B or go through drop on a mid wrap. There's so many ways to be able to hold this mid position for anyone playing in this whole room or even just back towards A pretty easily. Able to play around the CT spawn with so many little places for cover, steep elevation, maybe even able to head glitch or two off an angle. A lot of ways to play this. So to have all of that, and then to have this even harder to clear, farther to reach out position, I do truly think is a little bit overwhelming right now. So if there was one major change to the map, just leave everything else alone. Just block this off for now, see what happens. Because this mid does allow for genuine so much utility. We got a fun spam to try to contend through the mid hole. There's a 2-man boost where you can slightly, just barely get an angle on the head of someone here and be able to get a pick off, which is also can be quite fun. Changes, block that off, make this a double sandbag stack, let people hide. I would make these boxes bigger and then remove these boxes on the inside, so this position can be properly spammed and cleared out a little bit more easily if someone's trying to do a very unique hide situation right here specifically. So we rewind, of course, have this whole drop that lets us get to the lower mid and essentially the other half of the mid connection, as we'll so call it. As this has our quick route and our connection to CTB and CTA, slower connection has the quick route to the side flank to B and the side flank to A. Everything connects in a perfect, fluid, beautiful motion. Got some nice little details like this bottle. That will make a lovely sound effect giving away audio in case you're shifting up and you decide to hug too close to this wall. Speaking of which, this is going to be a personal request. Put a bottle right here in case someone's shifting while it's smoked. They walk up, bottle gives away a sound cue, punishes someone for walking there, gives a little bit of map knowledge, can punish something, gives a little bit of cheese and a little bit of a unique element and something to worry about. Something that might help favor the CT slightly. Because this angle is so difficult on T side. You gotta clear all this. You haven't noticed you got a full little cubby here where I can peek here. I can hold a little bit off, elevated here. And of course have the rest of this platform to play around, hide behind. And to hop around as a whole. Well, because there is a hole. This ladder fast connection I've seen interestingly used as a nice potential lurk if T's decide not to go for under control. The amount of times I have been backstabbed trying to focus on upper mid and being shot from here is countless, and I will probably never learn, no matter how many times it happens. And it happens because someone takes a risk, takes an aggressive play, dares to walk up a ladder, and fully push into the T mid. Which can be done quite early, which is, again, part of the beauty of this being so small and everything interconnecting just right to give this level of audio and information the whole way through. Again, another reason that benefits off of smoking this location, because you block off this hole, you block off this side better than the impromptu one using a lineup like I showed a little bit earlier. And then you can isolate angles a little bit. I don't think this bounces entirely correct. And there is not really a good way, unfortunately, to fully clear and molly off this little bit of area here. Maybe a bit of util could be a way to fix that. Well, it looks like I might have just found what I'm looking for indeed. At least almost a little bit. I don't know, some working probably needs to be done. But something to fully molly out and clear out this area like that would be nice if it was made a little bit easier. Right now, I can't think of any innately reasonable way to do that, but it's my fault for having a little bit of lacked prep on the research department. Again, we go to this mid. Got a lovely angle to help provide just that little touch of cover. Catching people while they're crossing. And connects directly to this A site, a little bit of flank route, which we can see here has this very unique, lovely side garage into whatever this bomb site is. I'm not even going to try to understand. But next to and under the bridge, with this cubby, this connection to mid, a little bit of this side hall heaven with a main route through to CT. Lots of ways for CTs to be able to lead towards the approach, with plenty of area for Ts to be able to do planting and even have after plant positions, whether it's this or even something wacky like here. Might need to block up these windows, just noticed that just now, first time. Play around this barrel just a little bit to Lovely porta potty. This has ended up being the default plant of this site, to mention. Again, with so many ways to retake the site, I think my biggest issue comes to the fact of, even if you get proper util to cross smoke, one, it's barely wide enough and has to land perfectly. And fortunately, it's very easy to kill players jumping up doing a movement like this. However, the same cannot be said for over here. This stairway is insanely powerful. And a smoke like this can easily give a one-way, ways to hold across, and very difficult to molly or clear out. The actual little pit part here, I think, is okay, but I would love to see this area right here completely blocked off and just turned into building to help further isolate a site a bit, because I mentioned part of the CT oppression comes from the fact that everything connects so easily. You can have two players trying to focus on this highly stressful mid control while two stand on B, but you get called, oh no, it's a B rush, or oh no, it's A, and instantly half of the team can rotate while the take is still starting to happen with little information to gather. So that's why cutting off one or two strong to hold positions like here and right here, I believe, is so strong and important. The B site's the most balanced, and the important thing is CT's being able to execute the retake correctly and have the right amount of players in the read to begin with. There isn't necessarily any broken positions. Again, if I were to point towards anything, it'd be that the statue's just that one, like, micro step too far, but nowhere near as egregious as how much silliness that position provides and this position provides, which doesn't get used a lot, but is so abusable, and every single time I have seen it used, it leads to absolute destruction. We do have a nice another spam wall here that goes to this A courtyard. The setup to the approach. Got a little bit of fun with some boxes that hopefully can get tucked out a little bit so that this peak can become a little bit more standard. Be able to fight someone playing towards this barrel duel here, so they have the two positions to worry about rather than just the one. It'd be nice to see that slimmed up a bit. I guess this lower part widened out, just allow players to really catwalk through it, strafe, and peek around this part. Having the wide courtyard here as a whole. Make this bigger box. Let T's actually position defensively around this area. I've seen a little too much aggression in it being a little bit too easy to get the picks off in this area, as the only cover for T's to work with is right here and here, and to get to this point you have to cross as the rush and the flashbangs would be coming through. So pulling this back an inch, making it a bigger box, would be great to see. Also, because it allows for more places for the utility. But this is genuinely a nice cubby, having, in theory, potentially a little bit of an off angle here. See a little bit of clipping wonkiness going on right here. So fix your clipping. And instead of doing this, I don't think this is the right play. I think just having a barrel here instead, forcing an actual jump up like it is now, and just making it feel a little bit more natural would be a little bit wiser, because this right now is just a little bit clunky and obtrusive. Lovely cubby, seems very strong, especially when crossing out. But this on its own, I think, is fine, assuming that this stairway got removed, because then you have all these angles specifically on the left side, then you have the site and these angles here already covering it. The issue is once you pass this line, you have not just 180 degrees to worry about, but then even more on most sites. Even if I go through B here, I have at most about 135 to deal with on the rotation. And having this A site be a little bit more brutal with the full 180, I think is okay. But even having positions that can't be cleared with eyes or utility comfortably like this is a little bit problematic. As you can see, there's no way to get a shallow enough angle for it to fully creep on up. Even if you try to do something like this stairway just needs to go and the building needs to be extended to here. Because having this pit and cubby so players can sit for a retake, maybe catch a default planter, lots of fun that can be had. Maybe a T lurking and able to get pot shots in and someone crossing from B. This actual little space here is good, just stairs not so much. To keep myself repeating. Again, I'll throw a little bit more util to spice it up. Show just how much can really be done. Seems like I've forgotten to line up for that, because I can get it to molly off this little bit of space too. And there's a really tight throw right about with the window that will properly molly. So you can clear this corner, you can smoke off here, you can pretty comfortably molly or even smoke this angle, as well as this. Easy to use either double mollies and smokes or 3 smokes. Clear out positions, leave it isolated so there's only bits and all this site space to work with. So even with a full execute, there's still tons of space and information that needs to be cleared out. So it's not too much that needs to be concerned with. So just giving these small little things to help the Ts, I think, will go a long way to help while still keeping the essence of the map alive. I think is so fun and genuinely enjoyable to work with. Here's an example of the distance thing. Say just way too far. No way to safely throw this. This is about the closest I can get, and I can get my shoulder picked off by an op here doing this. And even then, it's about a quarter second away from going down, so get rid of this stairway. Completely remove this little heaven block. Feel free to widen this out a little bit in response, like bring this entire wall back. That's, I think, an okay way to balance it. Just opening this up a little bit wider does technically give a quarter second faster for the CT's crossing drop through hole, but it's not faster to B. Everything balances out. It would be fine, I promise. But that gives a decent overview of bridge. Talk more of the CT positions. You can pretty much dance around anywhere on this site. I've even been able to save in an after plant here with a off default plant. Where I planted around this side and was able to survive with about half health. Or even be able to just hold off rotates. And again, the elevation, so I mean, here it's a little bit wonky and just looks off. But every single little bit of the map has this Inferno and Mirage level of detail where everywhere you walk, there's just this little bit of elevation. There's a little bit of a difference that can be made. A way to change position, throw utility, line something up where you expect someone will be to catch someone off guard, be able to just have that little bit of an angle. It's so lovely. And before we go, last thing to mention it. This is annoying as hell. Get rid of it, please. This is unbearable. The fact that I just walk up, near a bush and there's just a bonk, and it's every bush around the map. Doesn't matter where I go. And if I have a weird situation where there's like a smoke around here and I'm trying to peek over it, which that smoke doesn't work, but still, you can hear me. Bonk the bush, it makes a sound. I'm not walking into the bush. I shouldn't have bush audio unless I am inside a bush. Okay, this is annoying. And I believe it's here audible by everyone, so it can give some very important unnecessary sound cues away that should not be given. But again, genuinely love the map. One of my favorites. If for some reason you're watching this, you haven't played Mapcore before, or you haven't had a chance to play this, find some mates, join the hub on Faceit, play this map. It is an absolute blast. One of my favorites. I hope to play in the future, and we'll probably never see in the game, but I think is one of those maps that I think most players deserve to experience playing at least once. It is genuinely that unique and memorable for me. Absolutely love it. Hope you enjoyed these midnight ramblings. See you next time.